are back. I will be just a moment here. It's just fixing up a little Discord setting there, but alright. Hello, my dear, wonderful, lovely audience of 0 viewers. So, I had a nice dinner, and now we are back in magic school, and we're kind of going to go over a couple of professors here. So, what we need to do is come up with a professor for each class. So we're going to take down the classes here. So we have a Magic Theory, the World of Magic, along with Magic Basics and Magic Fundamentals. So these are all still tentative names for now, but we have a good idea of what we want and how we want to implement it. We're also going to have Practical Magic Application, Magic Engineering, Combat Magic, Magic Creativity. Cool. And outside of that, we also want to take a look at these clubs. So we have a club for each club, basically. So Theoretical Magic, which kind of combines Magic Theory and the World of Magic. There's one for like Basics and the Fundamentals. We could probably look to combine those into a single club as well, if need be. But I think the rest we're pretty good with. So those are going to be our classes, and then we'll have our clubs. So we are going to want to have the Magic Arts, as well as the Magic Sports, and probably 2 more. If we even need 2 more. Since we have 12 professors total, basically, we don't necessarily need one of them to do a bit of everything, if that makes sense. For now, we could even leave these blank. We might come up with some kind of idea to fill them in with later. But for now, we are just going to take what we have and check out how hot our professors are going to be. Because by golly, you guys probably want them to be hot. So here we go, the Magic Theory Professor. Yeah. World of Magic Professor. Magic Basics Professor. Magic Fundamentals Professor. I'm just going to put these in one by one. I'm thinking as well, a thing we can do with these professors is we've kind of already determined like the class structure will be like classes 1 half of the day, free time the other half of the day. So how we can kind of mix and match with that is we'll say like in first year students have classes in the morning and free time in the afternoons, and then second years have free time in the morning and classes in the afternoon, and then third years just have like the full free time basically. So it could create there's no real need to do that necessarily. It just helps the limited professors kind of handle the numeracy of the students a little bit better. So it like rather than having like all 3 year levels out doing free time at once, they can kind of cull those numbers by a third and keep them contained a bit more. But we can talk a little bit more about that. Maybe even never. Who knows, it'll become relevant again. But, okay. So with magic engineering, combat, magic, professor, and the magic creativity professor. Cool. So we are aware that that kind of overlaps with clubs a little bit in terms of how all that works. Give me a second here, my program's slogging down a bit. That's the issue of using a laptop with no real graphics card. Okay, we have Crash, but I'll bring it back real quick here. But yes, I'm hoping to get to a point in the nearer than later future where I can get my own better setup, if that makes sense. But in the meantime, we are fine with what we have because this isn't really that demanding of a software. Cool. Alright, so and now we gotta worry about these 4 question mark here. So I should probably take down all of the clubs. We might even revamp the clubs potentially based on how we want to do this. So let's go back and look at those once more. So Theoretical Magic Club is fine. Okay, we do have one for Worldly Magic. Yep. Basics, Fundamentals, Practical Magic, Combat Magic, Engineering. Don't really have a Magic Creativity Club. I guess that would be separate from Magic Arts. Because it's the arts are a specific utilization of using magic creatively, whereas Creative Magic Club is more so exploring how to use magic differently. Cool. Alrighty. So yeah, that's pretty much a club for each class, plus the sports and the arts. So I think rather than having a single professor over the sports club or the arts club, since there's basically an art or a sport for each classification of these schools, we could pretty much have one teacher in charge of those each two, I reckon. So that sounds good to me. Alrighty. So let's just stick down our schools of magic here. So we have the thermodynamics, the kinematics, electromagnetism, and optics and acoustics. Cool. Alright, so now we need to figure out who is going to do what, basically. So what I'm thinking is we can have one of each of these professors basically specialize in a type of magic each, and that can kind of tie in with whichever club or arts or sports they kind of do as well. So we kind of have this as a little bit of a reference already, because kinematics feels very sporty, electromagnetism feels very engineering. This one feels like super creative, and this one feels more combat based. So that's going to serve as a bit of a good guideline here in terms of some of these schools. So Magic Engineering Professor will be the Magic Engineering Club and Class Teacher. Specializes in electromagnetism. So, again, we don't have to worry too much about them specializing in these, because they're still going to be capable of all magics, they just have their preference. So, Combat Magic Professor will be Combat/Dueling Club and Class Teacher plus specializes in thermodynamics. You guys will probably notice I keep doing 2 C's every time I type specializes for some reason. I think that's just my keyboard. So please forgive the horrendous spelling mistakes. Alrighty, now moving on to the creative aspect. So that will be specializes in optics/acoustics. That'll be the Magic Creativity Class and Club. And then one more. So there isn't really any kind of sports class, but I'd say the practical application of magic's probably the closest we're going to get to that. And since that's the last one left out in this row, we'll say you are the specialist in kinematics. You can teach the practical magic application club and class. Cool, that suits well. Alrighty. Now, these other ones are going to be a little bit more difficult, because they're a lot more theoretical classes which kind of center around the basics a bit more. So you know the world of magic kind of goes into the engineering aspect / the worldly locations, because we've already kind of fleshed that out a bit. Theory is literally just theory, so that's rules, law, health and safety. Then we got basics and fundamentals. So the difference between basics and fundamentals is one is the pronunciations, the creation of magic circles and the flow of mana, and the fundamentals are the magic density, size / numeracy of magic circles, and spell casting speed, basically. Cool. So, based on what we know of these classes, we're going to kind of take a peek at the schools of magic we have and assign them from there. So, since this one kind of begins the path of engineering, we are going to treat this as the specialist in electromagnetism, just because it kind of ties in better with what comes next. Forgive my incredibly atrocious spelling. Cool. Alright, and following on from that, kinematics doesn't feel very theoretical to me. So I'd say that's going to be one of these two. I'd see, since Magic Fundamentals is a lot of the spellcasting itself, I'm thinking like the mind to muscle connection of mana and magic that we've kind of discussed prior. I think that's more feeling the flow of mana, which feels a bit more like physical and internal as you like feel how things course through your body. So we're going to say that you, the Magic Basics Professor, is going to be Kinematics guy. And how we can even do this is we could basically get away with less teachers, or we could have the same teachers for these first and second year classes. So top layer is first year classes, second year classes. So we shrink down the number of professors. There are pros and cons to that, as it'll basically allow us to focus on creating better characters in terms of like a more enjoyable story. Because like think of again Harry Potter, they're there for 7 years, and apart from the Defense of the Dark Arts teacher who changes every fucking year, they pretty much have the same teacher for every other class throughout all kind of 7 years. So you've got, apart from like Dumbledore, you've got Snape, McGonagall, you got your Quidditch teacher, you got your divination teacher. I mean, who else is even there? Like, I guess there's Hagrid, there's Flitwick. Yeah, there's like 6, 7, the herbologist teacher. There's only about 8 teachers there as well. And considering that's a 7-year school, I think it makes sense for us to have a few less teachers, especially since there'll be a lot less students in this school as well, in comparison. Cool. No, I like that. Before we continue with that train of thought, we've got to finish the Magic Theory and Magic Fundamentals professors there. So if we're going by the logic that these guys teach the later classes as well, Thermodynamics being a more combat magic professor, I can't really see them being the theoretical kind. Whereas someone who teaches magic more creatively probably has a better understanding of magic, how magic works. So I'd say, yeah, you can be the acoustics guy here. So that is the Magic Theory, Creativity, and Club Professor. And then it also kind of makes sense for these guys to be in charge of the sports as well, or the clubs. And since this will be like the TTRPG system, it just makes it a lot more convenient to have a few less teachers than an ordinary school as well. Just so the players actually remember who is who, because they're not going to remember like 12 different teachers who all do their own unique thing. So you will be Thermodynamics. So that is the Magic Fundamentals. Cool. And since these first year classes are a bit basic, it really does allow the teachers to have capacity to kind of monitor the clubs of more students as well. And let me see, yeah, so we have 4 teachers yeah, they can do the brunt of the work for the first and second years, and then maybe we have the 4 separate teachers exclusively for third years, and maybe they are the ones who more so handle the clubs and the more specialized application of magic, just because these other 4 here really aren't going to have time to do anything outside of classes as much. Let's see. And yeah, and these can be like the deans of magic. So it'll be either 8 or 12 teachers total, but we'll finalize the exact number a bit later. So we'll just put them as that for now. Cool, so they're going to be in charge of respective art/sport. And third year's pre-study reference. Because a lot of the third years will majorly be doing the sports and the rec activities as well. I feel like it. So that kind of makes sense for them to do things like that. Along that train of thought, however, just thinking, because theoretically, if they are the more advanced professors who like handle the third years and stuff, maybe it's more so them who are in charge of the clubs themselves, since the clubs specialize more in like the engineering and the combat, but at the same time, that brings up... Yeah, no, I think it's fine like that. Maybe those are the teachers who are less in charge of free time, after all. Cat, please get away from the laptop. There you go, kitty. You can go there. You've got a little bed there. Cool. Alrighty. Well, I think we are going to go with the 8 teachers over 12. So just take a little note here. So, 4 teachers in charge of classes for first and second years, and then 4 teachers in charge of so if they're doing the classes, they can't do the clubs. 4 teachers in charge of clubs and do they really need teachers to be in charge of the sports and rec? I assume they probably do. Yeah, I guess maybe we do need separate teachers for the sports and whatnot as well, because otherwise there just won't be enough time in the day for the teachers to be able to handle them all. But that is fine. The question in that case is going to be in terms of hierarchy, like who is important where and why. So we'll swap that, so we'll have 12 teachers, 1 for each class. And if we're forced to do it as 12 teachers, then we can do it for year levels. So yeah, we'll have the more advanced teachers in charge of like the later year levels. That's kind of closer to the original idea. Okay. That'll let them manage the clubs as well. Alright, I think that is fine as it is, really. Okay. So now the thing is, we need to get a bit of an idea of who these people are and what they do, really. What I'm really just contemplating is whether or not we should really be doing the characterization of these people now, or whether we were okay to just do like similar to what we did with the clubs and the classes and just come up with a more generalized idea of stuff for the shorthand. Because even with the classes and everything, well, we determined what they do, we still haven't really done like the criteria or like a full lesson plan or anything like that. I think just knowing how many teachers we need for what should be okay for the short term. And similar to the other stuff, maybe we can come back a little bit later once we have kind of fleshed a few things out a bit more. We should be okay. Let's take a peek at these school rules in the meantime. So I'm gonna say the big one is students aren't allowed out after dark, as well as students aren't allowed to use magic without supervision. I'd say other than that, like, the same kind of general common sense applies everywhere else. But I'd say like these rules are kind of less for students of the schools themselves and more for players playing as player characters in the school. So these are going to be the big bad no-nos of hey, you did this, you get in trouble. But apart from that, I mean, if they just start like punching the shit out of someone, that's going to be a more common sense rule that I don't really feel needs to be written down for the sake of a player character's common sense. That's also like the rule of law as the city or the nation as a whole. Speaking of, like, with the nations and the cities at present, I've kind of been envisioning these nations as more city-states, if that makes sense, but at some point we're gonna have to think about the world at large and really determine like how big these people's lands are and how much influence they have over what and where. Like, do they have their own agricultural industry, or do they import all the food and with trade and everything else? But we're kind of starting smaller with the school, and we'll expand upward and outward from there. But another question is, will this school be in the city itself even? Because I believe we briefly discussed a little bit before about an idea for the city to be modular, and the city can like have its internal buildings and blocks like move around based on the city's needs. But if that were the case, I think it makes a lot of sense to have the school elsewhere, especially if it's like a larger dormitory institution, especially with how magic works, because they want to be in like an environment that is excellent for the learning of magic, so they might be up and away out in the mountains or the countryside somewhere. Cool. Let me see. Let's review a little magic school list here. So we've got the 3 levels, yep, state ones at school, yep. Practical and theoretical applicable applications. I think we've kind of covered a lot of the core stuff here. One thing it might be good to do is kind of expand on the tournaments and whatnot we've managed a bit better. So we have here like school activities. So we know we want like tournaments and stuff, but we don't really know when we want them for who. So all of this is nice. So now we got to determine which year levels get which activities. Cool. So I'm gonna say first years get to do field trip to fonts of environmental magical power. Example, time stop forest, or whatever we're gonna call it. And I like the idea of the second year students being the ones who have the intra school wizard tournament. So that'll be the sports-based contest for the second years. The third years can do the joint expedition. Actually, no. Joint expedition with night students. I like the idea of having like a joint activity with the night school in each year. So while the wizards have their intra-school wizard tournament the second year, I imagine the knights would have some kind of internal night competition the second year for them as well. And then we have the joint graduation / prom with night school. As well as the school battles with / versus the night school tour. Cool. We got like exams and magic and engineering and stuff like that. So we'll have one here for every semester activities. So like exams. So for each semester having its own class, we can have like an end of semester class. Cool. Then we'll have every year activities, or annual activities rather. But don't mind the wording for now. Okay. So the magic engineering contest, as well as like the sport contest and the performing arts kind of stuff. I don't think we necessarily need a performing arts for like for every semester, but we'll say every year at the let me see. Performing arts performance for notable occasions. So starting / ending new school year, or entertaining VIP / special guests. For example, the joint tournament with the Knights. Cool. Although we do have to... I just reread my little notes here. So we had two here. We had the original like small idea for like once a semester thing where it's just like one kind of performance per creative performance school, but I don't know if there's like really a merit for them to necessarily perform a show on their own, because one of them is just like ice sculpting and one of them is just like electromagnetic sculptures, and while they're all like neat and good to watch on their own, it's when they're together that they really bring each other alive. So it's like theatre. Theatre combines the elements of song and dance and acting and music. It's not just one thing, it's a culmination of many great things to create one even more beautiful thing together. So yeah, we'll put a little tag on the end of this. Combines all four schools of performing arts for one big performance. And that's like one big thing that they can kind of work towards throughout the year. Now, we do have the other matter of the sports clubs, because it kind of makes sense for them all to be able to like play whatever sport they want anytime they want, all throughout the year. But I'm thinking maybe there's just like one stadium used by all of the students at any one given time. So we'll say that even though they can like practice or play whatever sport they want whenever they want, there's only really one season of each of the sports, like per semester, per year. So we'll have once a semester sports tournament for the semester's specified sport. Example, thermodynamics sport in the winter, but not the other seasonal semesters. I could definitely word that better, but I don't really care for now. But yeah, no, I think that's a good kind of spread for the time being. Is there anything else we need to really think of here? So I love the idea of having a little bit of a second year expedition. Joint dungeon expedition with the night school. So maybe they can raid like a basic dungeon together and form units with the knights and mages. And I'm just thinking about it a little now because we've already established that we're also going to have like a theocracy nation. Which will be separate from both the Knight Nation and the Mage Nation, which will be like some kind of priestly order. So I don't necessarily know whether or not there'd be like an academy for priests, because they're more so going to be devoting themselves to like the clergy and the temple. So while the clerics may not necessarily go to these school tournaments or these school dances, which kind of also helps to serve to show the closer connection between the mage and knight schools respectively. But I do love the idea of like some clergy youth joining the knights and the mages for this. Yeah, along with these guys. So I imagine there's going to be like so we're going to have like a few different like pantheons and gods and cultures and mythos all throughout the different nations of whatever, wherever. But I'm thinking like there's going to be like a big number one overall religion that kind of dominates over the rest of the continent's gods, even if the others are very much real and respected. Probably some kind of stereotypical god of light and goodness and holy justice and righteousness, and that's going to be where the theocratic nation, who has their pope and their cardinals and their paladins and crusaders and templars. That's where they come from, probably. And while they may maintain like good relations on the surface with these other nations, I'd say they probably hate the fucking mages. They probably see bending the rules of nature to their will as an affront to their god, or something like that. Because there's really a lot of fun dynamics we can do with that, and it leads to like a good story, good conflict, good tension between them, and it kind of shows why the mage school and the knight school don't have as close a relationship as they do. Or rather, maybe the night schools actually might have a good relationship with the priests, but it's more so like the priests and the mages who hate each other. But yeah, no, that'll bring some interesting stuff into the equation for sure. I'd also love to have like some kind of rogue school or archer school, but I don't think they'd really warrant having prestigious academies. I think that's kind of more like a learned trade from living in cities or wilderness or whatever. Okay. Now, we still got a couple here. So we need to figure out what we're going to do with this magic engineering contest. So, first years will probably have less annual activities. If anything, they get to watch these second and third year activities more than anything. So they kind of have an idea of what's coming up ahead, because it's a great opportunity for them to learn by watching rather than doing. So, mostly learn by watching, not doing. Spectate the second and third year tournaments. That'll kind of allow us to come up with a timeline for when these events will take place throughout these school years too, I reckon. So let's think a little bit. So we are going to have first year, second year, third year, and first semester, second semester, third semester. Just like that. Cool. Alright, I think we've got a good basis here. So, first year's first semester will have classes, class/club/exam. We'll come up with ideally, I'd like the idea of having something fun for all of them to do, like every semester, but we'll get there when we get there. Although the third years don't really have class. Cool. So I need to take a quick peek at these classes. So I am bringing up my little work in progress here in an online tab, just so I can look between without having to constantly change what window I'm in. So first year, first semester is Magic Theory, then it is World of Magic. So this is going to have field trips. So we'll put in brackets now, Time Stop Forest, Frost Fire, Glacier Volcano. These are just tentative idea names, because I really don't know what I'm going to do. have like the whole areas. Okay, this out. Cool. So, what we can do for the first years is I don't really know if there's going to be a whole lot else for them to do throughout that year, apart from like watching the others. So maybe we give them like one field trip per semester. That's just getting them out and about rather than just like bogged down with theoretical magic the entire year. Rather than packing like all field trips into a single class within a single month, because that feels like it'll bog them down a lot. Cool, no, that definitely feels a lot better. Now then. Yes, hello cat, you may sit on my lap as long as you don't bite any cords. Okay, so, second year. So we're going to want the intra-school wizard tournament. So for that we want to kind of look at when they are doing their combat magic. Yeah. And we're going to have the magic engineering contest the second year as well, because that's when they have their magic engineering class. And that is a second semester class. And that'll be the intra-school wizard tournament. Okay, so we still have two things for the second year. So we have magic creativity and practical magic application classes. I think the joint expedition sounds like a really cool big end of year thing. So let's do that in the final year, because that's also after the students start learning like combat magic. So, class, clubs, exams, as well as a joint dungeon expedition with knights and priests. I'll just add here. I think having a field trip with the knights every semester just sounds like a lot of fun. Help make new friends and meet more people outside of the same familiar faces that they spend every day with. Cool. Now, I also need to think about how to incorporate the sports and performing arts. Because I imagine like the students could probably like start doing those whenever, if they feel like it. But I don't know how good they're gonna be, so maybe we just give them the option to start as first year. So exams, sports and performing arts, every semester from first year onwards. Yeah, that can be something they do separately from class, and there's a good chance for them to start using some more practical magic outside of their first year classes too. Alright, let's see. Cool. Now, don't really need to include that as part of the timeline. These performing arts things, I think. I'm just gonna leave that. Same with the sports. We can just say that's kind of self-explanatory there. What is a fun thing these students can do for a first semester and second year? They spend every semester with them in first year. Maybe we can do something else in first year with Knights, since they're probably not going to do anything with them in the second or third semesters. Something with Knights and or priests. I'll just put a question mark there. Maybe we can have like a little bit of an exchange program. Yeah, let's do a exchange program at night school. That sounds cool. Just like go to night school for a week and learn what they do and how their shit works, even if they don't necessarily do it fully themselves. Yeah, they can go to night classes for while the others are at mage school. Okay, no, I like that. Now, third year. So we're gonna have the prom / dance. That'll be like the final semester thing for sure. Graduation, prom, with night school. Then in third semester we can say that is the same semester as the tournament from the year before. So that'll be the inter-school tournament with Night Academy. Cool. Now we need something else for the second and first semester. Could do another exchange program at the night school. Or even an exchange program at the clergy. I don't know if they'd be as open to that, but it could be interesting. Thinking maybe we could do a second magic engineering contest for third years. I know it would be the same thing as the second year, but maybe we can do a bit of a spin on it to help separate it or differentiate it from the tournament, the competition the year before. Similar to how in the second year the tournaments are only internally with wizards, and then the third year it's externally with knights too. So maybe second year is the magic engineering contest solo, and third year is a group activity. That's a nice way to spice things up. So just need to come up with one little thing for these third years. Well, we could technically leave it blank for now. It's also the last thing I need to fill in, but yeah. I mean, I imagine we'll be expanding. Oh, no, I just had an idea. Some people might hit me for this. Work placement experience in the city. Prepare them for graduation, get some real world job experience, you know? Get this boring stuff out of the way in the first semester so they can do more exciting stuff in the rest of the year. Alrighty. No, I think that's pretty good. I'm very happy with that, actually. So I'll just fill these in here. So I'll have to come up with some jobs and stuff in the city that they could do. Or experience. Okay, yeah, no, I think that's a lot of fun. Okay, so we've got classes, we've got clubs, we've got activities, we've got roles, we've got professors. Still need to flesh it all out, of course, but I guess we kind of need to consider how the school year works, even outside of the activities, now that we've kind of got that down. So 1 year is roughly 200 days, 4 months, 1 month per season, 5 weeks per month, 10 days per week, 20 hours per day. So we kind of need to come up with the school year with these categories. So we'd say maybe students get let me see. "10 hours night, 10 hours daylight." So let's start with a standard day. So 10-hour nights and 10-hour days. So we'd say students get up, 2 hours free time in morning, 3 hours class, 2-hour break, 3 hours free time. So that is 10 hours right there. We could do. We'll treat this like a D&D session. So 2.5 to 3 hours per class. 1 hour free time in the morning. They don't need 2 hours. A 1 hour break, and then another 1 hour break after free time, and that is 10 hours of daylight. And then in nighttime they would have let's see. Is 1 hour really enough time in the morning? Get up, get dressed, have breakfast, but they don't really cook their own meals. There's going to be a communal thing. I do like the 2.5 hours for class. So that's yeah, no, so that was 5 hours of class, 3 hours for outside of that. So we still got like 2 hours that we can allocate somewhere. So I'd say rather than a break there, what we can do is just have like 2, that'd be 5, that'd be 9. What do we do? This. So that's 3 hours plus 5 hours. I think 1.5 hours for those is reasonable. Then maybe we can do like 3.5 hours for classes instead. Or we can just give them some free time after classes to actually do some shit with the daylight. So that's 5, that's 8. Cool. Cool, no, I like that. So they get a break, they get food, they have some fun, they study. And then we'll say 1.5 hours dinner after that initial, like, free time. And then we'll say more free time after dinner, but now they're not going to be allowed out. Now they have to like stick in their dorms. So if we have, say, 6 hours minimum for sleep, that leaves 7.5. 1.5 hours free time at night. That gives us like a solid 7 hours sleep. And then they can sleep earlier for longer if they really fucking feel like it. Okay, cool. So that sounds like a good standard basis for a single day. Now, how do we want these weeks to work? Cool. So, since we're having like 10-day weeks, my initial thought was like a 7-day work week, 3-day weekend, but when you really think about it in comparison to like today's standards, that sounds pretty insane. Like even a 6-day work week sounds like pretty crazy as well. So rather than a weekend, maybe they have like 2 weekends. 3 days work, 2 days play, 3 days work, 2 days play. I think that's a good kind of breakdown. Because honestly, I think 3 work days is like the perfect amount. Cool. Cool. So that is how any given week will work. And then, since months are technically seasons, we'll say final week of the month is free time. Cool. And yeah, so like, or rather than final week of the month, slash 1 week of the month, depending on festivals, holidays, or whatever, maybe. Cool. And that basically ends up equating to nearly a full season of every year, or otherwise say maybe final week of winter off, first week of spring off, and then maybe mid-autumn / mid-summer off. Because that's just how the years are gonna end up being. Like, the year ends with the winter and begins with the spring, so they'd have more time off over that period, if that makes sense. Alrighty, well, I think I've made some pretty good progress there with that. In terms of uniforms, I've kind of briefly mentioned earlier, we'll probably have some like robe / color system, maybe some kind of pins based on your year level or whatever, but we'll flesh that out a bit more later. I think for now, I think that's a good place to leave off here, because I think before I continue anything, I'm going to have to do a little bit more research into what else a school needs, basically. We've kind of come up with a core idea for all the foundational fundamentals, but there's more to a school than just that. So, I don't know when I'll stream next. Maybe tomorrow afternoon, tomorrow evening if I have a chance. If not, it could be a couple of days, but not really trying to do a schedule at the moment. I'm just doing what I want because it's funner that way